Dave, are you sure about the nerve reconstruction trial for your legs? This trial might fail, and the people who usually take it have nothing to lose. Would your wife and family be okay with this? I'm sure. Please keep it confidential. Alright, we'll contact you in 7 days on schedule. Dave hung up the phone and wheeled himself to the window, staring out at the wisteria flowers. They were the same flowers Selena gave him when she confessed her love. She had knelt down and said with deep emotion that the language of wisteria symbolizes living and dying for love. He was moved to tears. But when he saw a wisteria bonsai in Mike's office, he realized the flowers weren't meant for him. Neither was the love. He closed his eyes, the conversation he overheard outside the study echoing in his mind. Selena, 3 years ago you pretended to be a thug and kidnapped Dave. He lost his legs and got kicked out by his parents. Mike finally got his wish. I see he's been trying so hard to treat you right over these 3 years. Maybe you should forget about Mike? Dave froze as he was about to push the door open. Fear crawled up his spine. The talking voices belonged to his brother John and his model wife Selena. 3 years ago, he was about to get engaged to someone from a wealthy family. But right before the engagement party, he mysteriously vanished. Everyone thought he ran away because he didn't want to commit. What really happened was he got held hostage for a week. During that time, he was blindfolded, beaten, and humiliated. He could never forget that rough, manipulated voice of the female thug. Not gonna run. Are you? I'm breaking your legs. Let's see how you run now. If breaking bones and beatings were physical punishments, the injected drugs and endless humiliation became a lifelong shadow for Dave. He was tortured, every bone in his body aching and passing out over and over. When the booths found him, his mental state was shattered. Though the booths tried to keep it hush-hush, word leaked out and the engagement got switched to another booth's son, Mike. Being brought back only to serve the purpose of the marriage alliance, the booths abandoned him without a second thought, and Selena showed up in his life. Dave, I've secretly loved you for many years. Please give me a chance. It doesn't matter if you don't accept me in the end. First, Dave thought it was some cruel joke. He treated her horribly. But Selena defended him whenever his mother lashed out. During his nightly nightmares, when he pounded his legs in despair, she held him tightly, saying she'd be his legs. She refused a family alliance for him, bore the bruises without complaint, and even left a multimillion-dollar contract overseas to come back and propose. She wanted to give him a home after being kicked out by the booths. He fell hopelessly for her, even thinking fate finally pitted him by sending Selena into his life. But the salvation he believed in was just a trap pushing him further into the abyss. As compensation, I have already married Dave. But my heart only belongs to Mike. You better keep this secret. If Dave finds out, we're screwed. His heart, now cold, filled with pain. It became clear that marrying him was only out of guilt. The wheelchair-accessible home and loving photos became mere props in Selena's act. He forced a smile, looking at his useless legs as pain stabbed through him, leaving him breathless. Losing control, his body slammed to the floor. Selena rushed in, the worry on her face genuine, but he saw through it. Dave, what's wrong? I'll get your meds. Selena carefully lifted him back onto the bed, her actions painfully tender. Dave, the doctor said you shouldn't get emotional. Was it my fault? He turned away, swallowing his asthma medicine, his voice becoming icy. Still no clue about who kidnapped me 3 years ago? Selena stiffened, shook her head. Not yet, but don't worry, Dave. I won't stop until I find that criminal. Then you can decide their fate. Her spirited promise, once tear-inducing, now just felt ridiculous. She seemed unsettled, but her phone interrupted the moment. Her face showed guilt. Dave, have your meal. I'll return a call to a foreign client. He saw the caller ID clearly. It was a local number. The nausea rose again in his throat. Dave's sleep was restless, tormented by Selena's deceitful promises in his dreams. He woke to find her gone, only seeing a text sent hours before. Dave, I have an event tonight. I'll bring breakfast in the morning. Shuffling through his phone, he paused at a familiar contact. It was a picture of a wet condom and a torn purple scarf. Mike even sent a voice message, "Thanks Selena for the scarf, but get a different color next time. She thinks it's tacky." Tears blurred his vision as Mike's photos not only taunted, but also shattered the illusion of love Selena crafted for him. The woman he spent countless days with was secretly with another man all along. Sickened by the thought, he couldn't stop retching. After pulling himself together, he made a call. "Could you help draft a divorce agreement?" "As soon as possible." Downstairs in the open kitchen, Selena saw Dave coming down and rushed to push his wheelchair. "Dave, we're visiting the old house this morning and seeing the booths in the afternoon. Don't worry, your mom and dad won't make things hard for you. Worst case, we just adopt a kid." Mentioning kids made Dave snap up his head. The trauma from being kidnapped 3 years ago still haunted him, making intimacy hard. At that time, the woman had hugged him tenderly, saying it was okay. But now, thinking back, she was probably scared of getting too close, fearing he'd uncover something about her over time. "No, I don't want to." Dave avoided her touch and stared at the breakfast on the table. The seafood porridge glared back at him. He's allergic to seafood. Selena knew, yet she brought it anyway. Seeing the usually gentle Dave fall silent, Selena thought he was upset because he didn't come home last night. "Dave, are you mad? I swear last night was just a work thing. Eat your breakfast or your stomach will hurt. When you hurt, I worry so much." Selena's voice was soft as she coaxed him, swallowing down his allergic complaint. There's no point explaining to a woman who doesn't love you. Trying to lighten the mood, Selena looked uneasy at the table, but was completely shut down by Dave's next words. "Selena, where's the purple scarf you wore when you left yesterday?" Selena quickly checked her outfit. The black choker was one Mike picked for her this morning. "Got stained during drinks. Sent it for dry cleaning with my assistant." Hearing the lie he expected, Dave nodded calmly but felt even colder inside. She thought he believed her, but deep down, he knew he'd never trust this woman again. The White's villa. Just a few steps in, Selena's mom's chatter with Mike reached them. "Mike dear, you're such a good boy. If not for Dave, you'd be the perfect son-in-law for us." From Dave's view, Selena's mom was holding on to Mike affectionately, a smile he hadn't seen in 3 years. Selena coughed twice to interrupt, flashing a gentle smile. "Mom and Dad, I brought Dave back to see you. These are gifts he carefully picked out." Selena's mom barely gave a glance, responding begrudgingly, pulling Selena to sit by her side. Dave was used to being ignored and wheeled himself to the couch. "We heard. Selena says your health isn't fully restored yet?" Selena's mom jumped in before Dave could react. "Been married 3 years and still no kids. People might wonder if one of you has a problem, you know?" Dave's face flickered, his eyes searching for Selena, who had always defended him, countering her mom. But this time, her gaze was on Mike, charmed by his every move, completely ignoring Dave. An awkward silence lingered, and Mike, pretending to be the nice guy, grasped Dave's hand a bit too tightly. "Mr. and Mrs., Dave knows his past mistakes. Maybe let it go for my sake?" Dave winced, instinctively pushing Mike, who conveniently fell, playing the victim. Selena rushed to help Mike, only relaxing once she saw no injuries, then turned harshly to Dave. "Mike spoke up for you, why push him? What if he got hurt?" Dave clenched his outfit, saying nothing. Selena didn't wait for explanations, siding with Mike without question. No point speaking further. With that, Dave lifted his head, catching the fleeting smug look on Mike's face. After lunch, Dave wheeled to the front seat, finding Mike there on his phone. Before Dave could say anything, Mike spoke up. "Dave, Selena insisted I shouldn't cab home alone. She insisted on riding with her." "Why the front seat, though?" Before Dave finished, Selena briskly ushered him to the back seat, folding his wheelchair, speaking earnestly. "Dave, Mike gets car sick easily. He'll feel better up front. Be considerate." As the car moved, the blurred world outside raced past. Dave, head heavy, thought about how Selena used to massage him and recline the seat whenever he felt motion sick. He also got car sick, maybe even worse. Did she forget? No, she hadn't. She just didn't bother faking it for him when Mike was around. Arriving at the booths, the sunlight bathed the scene. Through the window, Dave's mom and John waved eagerly towards the car. Dave knew their smiles and waves were meant for Mike. He used to bend over backward for their approval, even getting Burns mastering tea skills his mom loved. He combed through data, crafting business plans for John. But nothing could outshine Mike's sweet talk, and all his efforts were brushed off as useless by his mom. Returning to reality, Dave watched the carefully tended glory flowers in the yard, his expression lost as a woman's impatient voice cut through. Dave, Mike's got stomach issues lately. You know a doctor, right? Get Mike some help. But remember, keep it simple. He hates hassle. Staring at her, Dave's mind flashed to John and Selena's conversations, his expression darkening. If he needs help, see a doctor. How could a no-talent loser like me help? John eyed his sharper demeanor, a far cry from the once docile man, fury bubbling. Dave, don't you remember who raised you? Without the booths, would you have any of this? Just asking you to help Mike, and you're making excuses. Is that because you've outgrown needing us? In his eyes, ever since Dave married into the Whites, he not only kept little contact with them, but also subtly sabotaged Mike in private. He's even caught Mike crying a few times, each time comfortingly assuring him not to blame Dave. Dave, do you think just because you're with Selena, no one would dare cross you? Let me tell you, Selena. Before he could finish, Selena loudly cut John off, then tightly hugged Dave, looking tense. Dave, are you okay? Let's go. I'm taking you away from here. On the way, Selena cautiously probed, fearing he'd find out the truth. That night, while Selena was washing his legs as usual, her phone chimed. A few minutes later, after drying his legs, she kissed his forehead softly. Dave, you get some sleep. There's a last-minute issue at the office. I'll be back soon. Selena left in a hurry, yet 5, then 10 minutes passed, and Dave still hadn't heard the car start. Struggling, he got into his wheelchair and rolled down the ramp. The door was ajar, a thin strip of light peeking through. Dave clutched his palm, his eyes peering through the gap at the figure inside the car. Sounds of soft pants were distinct in the night, the car swaying gently, the people inside shifting positions. Dave clutched his chest, tears streaming down like broken beads, his heart wrenching in pain. He wasn't one to eavesdrop. He stiffly turned his wheelchair back to the bedroom, drying his tears. He didn't know how long had passed when a warm body snuggled up behind him, the grip around him almost desperate. Mike, don't go, Mike, he heard her murmur. Fighting back the bitterness, under the moonlight, Dave looked at the whispering woman, her face full of affection. Yet, she fooled him over and over, playing him like a fool. Compulsively, Dave picked up the phone from under her pillow and tried Mike's birthday. Sure enough, it unlocked. On the screen was a youthful photo of the two of them. Opening the album, there were over 6,000 photos all about Mike. The notes detailed Mike's dislikes and preferences, even his regular therapy dates. The notes stopped on Mike's wedding day, 3 years ago. 2 sentences summed up everything Selena felt. Mike, I love you. Even though you married someone else, in my heart, you'll always be my one and only groom. I'll always remember. Mike, your promise that you'd be with me every year on this day. Dave vaguely remembered that for 3 years, on Mike's wedding anniversary, Selena would disappear. Turns out, she was spending the day with Mike, while he waited foolishly for her until dawn. Tears blurred his vision, and Dave curled up, feeling icy all over. Just a little longer, 5 more days. In the morning, as Dave woke up, the woman ruffled his hair, speaking indulgently. Dave, get up for breakfast. After, I'll go with you to the hospital to discuss adopting a child. Dave paused, then nodded. After eating and getting ready, Selena helped him into the front passenger seat. Put me in the back. It's roomier and more comfortable. Selena seemed surprised by his request. As she moved him, she quickly tossed aside a men's earring she found in the seat. Dave pretended not to notice, his gaze lingering outside the window. At the hospital, a nurse led Dave to the exam room. While waiting, Selena disappeared again. He called her several times, but to no answer. After a few routine tests, the nurse wheeled Dave for further examination. Adjusting his clothes, ready to leave, he overheard the nurses chatting. It's a different world now. Even people with disabilities want to adopt. And he's alone too, isn't it? The world is unfair. A beauty was here with her husband, nearly frantic over a mere stomach bug. The nurse gossiped about the beauty, who wore a black coat and designer bag, fitting Selena's description to a T. Dave looked at the taunting text from Mike. "Hey Dave, Selena says you're at the hospital. Want to share the porridge she brought for me?" Closing his phone, a cold smile crept over Dave's lips. Later, as he waited for test results, Selena came running, out of breath. "Dave, sorry, I had a call from a partner. Had to stop by a nearby factory. Were you waiting long?" Dave looked straight into the face of the anxious woman, noticing her spotless high heels, shook his head, indicating it was fine. Selena visibly relaxed, clutching him close, the overwhelming scent of her perfume nearly making Dave gag. Gently, he pulled away from her. "Selena, can we not adopt? I feel like I'm overcoming my fears. Maybe we should pick a date instead?" Selena was taken aback, her tone firm that it wasn't an option. Realizing her words were too harsh, she added, "Dave, don't push yourself. The adoption process is comprehensive. We can have kids without overcoming fears." Dave knew she was putting on an act, wanting to stay virtuous for Mike. Suddenly disinterested, he said no more. That afternoon, after Selena dropped him at home, she quickly left again. He saw Selena again through Mike's social media update. He was leaning against a blue Ferrari, posing happily. Selena was barely in the frame, watching Mike with an unreadable look. The caption, "Thanks for the car she sent. Celebrating our 18 years of knowing each other. Cheers to us." Dave calculated the days he and Selena had known each other. It barely hit 1,000, nowhere near theirs. Dave liked the post and commented, "May it last forever." He knew it's what Mike wanted. At 9 p.m., Dave was reading a book. "Dave, guess what I got for you? These are Lucky Charms, a total of 3, just right for our family of 3. The charms were small and delicate. While looking at the woman's gentle profile, Dave felt nothing. "I'm heading abroad for a business trip soon, so I can't be with you. Let these charms keep you company. Okay?" "Why?" Dave asked, his tone as casual as if asking about something trivial. Selena froze briefly, then quickly made up an excuse. "Dave, the board is going to conduct a comprehensive assessment of me as the CEO over the next 2 weeks, so I'll probably have to eat and live at the company. I shouldn't be making you go through this. Don't be mad at me, all right?" Tears filled her eyes, spilling over, and Dave silently nodded. Waking up at midnight, Dave was momentarily taken aback by the empty spot beside him in bed, but quickly returned to normal. He looked out into the endless night. Just 4 more days. The following morning, as Dave descended the stairs, the driver Selena arranged was already waiting at the door. At the hospital, after completing a series of rehab procedures, Dave suddenly fainted. When he woke up, the only thing beside him was Mike fiddling with the charm. "Didn't think you'd really go for adopting a kid. I thought you'd never agree." Dave figured he was about to leave soon and complied with Selena's wish to adopt, thinking it would spare him some trouble. Unexpectedly, Mike had such a strong opinion about it. As Dave was stunned, Mike tossed him a paternity test report. "If Selena could have kids, why would she suggest you adopt one? Dave, you should be thankful. This is my child with my ex-girlfriend. Selena said she'll treat him like her own. Soon enough, you'll have to call him your nephew." Dave shook as he crumpled the report, meeting Mike's smug grin. "You really are quite the fool, playing along despite knowing about me and Selena. So what if you're the Booth's biological heir? They only love me." Even though Dave knew Mike was trying to provoke him, his heart still hurt, and in a fit of rage he slapped him. Mike looked incredulous, and as he tried to retaliate, he turned, breaking a glass and cutting his hand. Breathless and lying on the bed, Dave hadn't recovered when Selena yanked him up, demanding an explanation. How could you injure Mike like that? He has a clotting disorder. Do you have any idea you could endanger his life? No time to think over her words. Dave hastily treated the wound, showing some relief. It wasn't me, Selena. Do you really think so little of me? Selena's flustered expression lasted but a moment before she regained composure, frowning. The next few days you stay home and reflect. You're not allowed to go anywhere, but don't stop rehab. I'll send a doctor here. Seeing her attentively bandaging Mike's wound, Dave slumped onto the bed, closing his eyes in defeat. Turns out, in her eyes, he was just a tool to take the fall for Mike, nothing more. Upon learning he was confined at home, Dave's mom was the first to call, questioning him. Dave, Mike visited you out of kindness and you injured his hand like that? And then you defied Selena? Have you gone mad? Dave swiftly hung up, blocked her, and softened as he glanced at the divorce papers just sent by his lawyer. The doorbell rang incessantly, and having no intention of opening it, John eventually forced his way in. Dave, Mike hasn't been able to sleep from the pain in his arm, and you have the nerve to sit here? What do you want, to inflict the same injury on me so I suffer with Mike? John's face flushed, recovering quickly and forcing Dave to apologize to a pale Mike. With every cry Mike let slip, John grew angrier. Apologize. Don't make me get rough. Dave steeled himself and stared John in the eye. I did nothing wrong, so why should I apologize? John's fists clenched. With a nod, the bodyguards rushed forward, pinning Dave to the ground. The weight on his shoulder blades was so painful tears welled in his eyes. Even so, he remained steadfast in his refusal to apologize. Selena arrived in a rush upon receiving the news. Seeing Dave's sorry state, feeling a strange sensation she quickly dismissed as she redirected her focus to Mike. Apologize or you'll never get that watch back. Dave couldn't believe it, recalling gifting her the watch on her birthday. Selena, this watch was left to me by my grandpa. It means everything to me. Just like you. Back then, Selena was surprised and vowed to protect it with her life. Times had changed. What once was a cherished gift had become a means of coercion. The overwhelming pain suffocated Dave, a bitter cold consuming him. He chuckled to himself, dropping to his knees to mumble, I'm sorry, Mike. I was wrong. No sooner did the words leave his mouth, Mike sneered unhappily. Dave, that's not enough. You should bow your head to show you're sincere. Did you forget how good you used to be at it? Grinding his teeth, Dave glanced at an irate Selena and a smug John, swallowing down his resentment. The sound of his forehead hitting the marble echoed through the living room. Every bow drove pain deeper into his heart. Not sure how many times he did it, Mike mercifully declared he wouldn't pursue it any further, and Selena coldly turned her back. In the mess, John's mocking words replayed in Dave's mind. Deep in thought, he pressed the number he knew by heart. Do me a favor. Kidnap two people, one being Mike and the other, me. Selena returned to the villa the next morning, spotting him asleep on the couch, her lips involuntarily curling into a smile. As long as Dave stays in line as her husband, she'll make sure he never has to worry about a thing in his life. But he had to go and challenge Mike, which was a bad idea. It was only going to end badly for him. As she thought about it, the woman applied more pressure with her hands. Feeling the sting of the alcohol on his forehead, Dave's eyelashes fluttered, and he woke up. His eyes were cold, wanting nothing to do with her. But as he tried to move his wheelchair, Selena held him in place. Dave, I know I was tough on you last night, but it's for your own good. Was having him kneel without reason her way of showing she cared, her way of protecting him? Dave swallowed his words and said nothing because trying to explain was pointless, a waste of energy. Selena picked up a few clothes and quickly left, but not before telling Dave to work on his rehab. Soon enough, a doctor and nurse arrived at his place. The nurse winked at him as she entered the living room, making Dave chuckle a bit. Dave, don't you recognize me? It's Ben. And this is my sister, Maria. Bet you didn't expect to see us. Ben clapped Dave on the back excitedly as he wrapped him in a bear hug, looking at him with concern. I saw that jerk's car earlier. I watched Mike laughing it up in the passenger seat. Maria quickly gave her brother a knowing look. It's fine, I'm used to it, Dave said with a small smile. In 3 days, we'll go with the plan from last night. But I'll need Ken and Samuel to play the bad guys. You two will back me up. Maria nodded, handing him some tonic medicine and carefully explaining how and when to take it. Dave accepted it with a smile, gratitude warming his heart, thanking them earnestly. Come on, Dave, it's no big deal. 7 years ago, if it wasn't for you, my brother and I would have probably been torn apart by that rich punk's attack dogs. Plus, I went into nursing because of you, Maria started to say before Ben hurriedly covered her mouth, leaving after saying a few more things reluctantly. Before noon, Selena sent someone to take Dave to a photo studio. Dave, take some pictures of Mike, all right? I spent the morning helping him try on suits, and he didn't like any of the photos the photographer took. I remember you won some photography awards before. Dave didn't move his wheelchair, merely staring at the flash of lights. In the blur of his vision, he recalled the thug's words, also Selena's, "Come on, don't be shy. You've got nothing left to hide. Take a few more shots." His body jerked, and the camera slipped from his hands. Nearby, Mike screamed, "Dave, you don't want to help me with the anniversary photos, but you didn't have to drop the camera. That thing is a collector's item from Selena, worth millions." An angry force pushed Dave's chin up, forcing him to meet Selena's livid eyes. "Dave, I brought you here to help, not to cause trouble. Can't you stand seeing Mike do well? If that's how it's gonna be, then you're punished to reflect in the darkroom storage until we're ready to leave." Dave stiffened. The thought of being in the dark since his kidnapping 3 years prior terrified him. But he gritted his teeth and grabbed at the woman's sleeve. "I didn't mean to, I'm scared of the flash." When I see it, before he finished, Mike laughed like it was the best joke. "Selena, isn't Dave hilarious? Who's afraid of flashlights? Maybe Dave's done something shady." The woman's expression iced over, a reminder of the photos taken 3 years earlier flashing in her mind. She hesitated a moment, with Mike clinging to her arm. "Selena, how about this? Just let him wear a blindfold and stay in the dark room for 2 hours, not all afternoon." Without even thinking, Selena agreed, instructing the guards to take Dave, wheelchair and all, into the room. The dark room was pitch black, and the blindfold blocked whatever little vision Dave had. His heart raced, palms sweaty. Unpleasant memories flooded back. The laughter outside the door sounded like a magic spell working against him. Selena's low, merged voice overlapped with the kidnappers from years ago, and Mike's steady breathing made him dizzy and uneasy. He slammed his hand against the door repeatedly, but those outside stayed unbothered. Mike had everyone put on headphones minutes ago, engrossed in viewing his runway show. Dave's shivering didn't stop. Falling from his wheelchair, he crawled toward the door, his legs numb from feeling. Blood from his arms soon stained his clothes, and as he touched the sticky substance, he passed out. Upon waking in the hospital room alone, Dave glimpsed Selena outside, her voice carrying into the room. "Doctor, can the muscle relaxant dose be increased?" Dave's blood ran cold, pain in his right arm bringing him back to a harsh reality. "Selena, a higher dose means Dave really won't walk again. If he hadn't been on it for 3 years, there was a chance his legs could heal. Are you sure you don't want to reconsider?" "No need. Just fill it. Payment will hit your account soon. Just keep quiet." Even though he already knew Selena's true colors, her willingness to do anything for Mike still shocked Dave. He pounded his legs a couple of times, heavy with guilt. How had he fallen for Selena's game? Before he could delve into this thought, footsteps approached. The smell of smoke was unmistakable. It was John. "Selena, Mike told me when Dave fainted, you dashed over to put him in the ambulance. Didn't hear Mike calling you, worried, weren't you?" The smell grew stronger, the heavy scent of cigars filling the room. the woman's voice raspy. What are you worried about? Just afraid something might happen to him. Then Mike would have to handle all the trouble. Plus, I told the doctor to up the dose of sedatives. Once it's all done, he won't even be able to get out of bed to bother Mike. To be honest, Selena, you're way more ruthless than me. Makes me look soft as his brother. As the footsteps faded, Dave couldn't hold back his emotions any longer. Tears started falling one by one, and he almost lost his voice from crying. He tossed the talisman into the trash. Staring into the endless night, he wore a grimace worse than crying. He comforted himself, only 2 more days, a little more patience. Late at night, as Dave was getting ready for bed, Mike sent a photo of them together. Selena was looking lovingly at him, all dressed up. Just taking a costume photo, and Selena wouldn't even wait for you to wake up. Dave, that's pretty sad. Dave remembered the past 3 years when Mike used to mock him with his sweet looks. Back then, Dave thought Mike was just jealous of him. Turns out he was played like a fool by these people. How pathetic and ironic. Seeing Dave didn't answer, Mike dangled an olive branch, saying Selena agreed to take him to the beach to unwind the next day. My brother already agreed to go. Leaving you at home would make us look bad. Like we don't care about disabled people. Half an hour later, Selena sent a message echoing Mike, saying, the driver will pick you up at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Come to the beach and relax a bit. Dave didn't reply. He printed out the divorce papers he just received, signed them, and left them on the coffee table, counting down the last day. By the time Dave got to the beach, Mike and Selena were already there. John handed Mike a juice. Dave, you should have some too. Selena had these oranges flown in from N City. They're super sweet. Dave didn't take it. He simply said he was allergic and turned his wheelchair toward the sea. After a while, his phone buzzed with a message from Maria. They had just knocked Mike out and moved him onto the yacht. Before he could put his phone away, Selena hurriedly asked, have you seen Mike? He said he was changing into his swim trunks. Where'd he go? John dragged Selena away, irritated, saying, Selena, what are you talking about? It's not like he can get up and help us find Mike. Watching them search frantically, Dave smiled. He knew freedom was close. Elsewhere, Selena's temper flared as the bodyguards knelt before her. What are you standing around for? Go find him. If you don't find Mike, you're all fired. Right after her outburst, John found Selena, panicked, and took her to the yacht. Someone just called, insisting I bring you to the deck. I suspect it's related to Mike's disappearance. The two had just stepped onto the deck when they saw unconscious crew members everywhere. 2 criminals held knives, standing by the mast. Hey look, Selena, John. Do these people seem familiar? The criminals ripped Mike's hood off, exposing his pale face. Tears welled up as he looked pitiful. The criminals chuckled, shoving the hooded person next to him roughly. Transfer 10 million now, pick one in 10 seconds. Don't decide, and I'll toss them both into the sea. Selena looked at the unmoving person on her left, felt a wave of doubt but saw no wheelchair around. She relaxed. Okay, I'll give you the money. Just don't hurt him. Within seconds, the transfer was complete, but the criminals still didn't release Mike. I gave you the money, aren't you satisfied? Let Mike go, or I'll make you pay. The criminals exchanged looks. One of them discreetly signaled Dave, pushing Mike forward. In a split second, Dave's hood was removed, and he locked eyes with Selena trying to untie Mike. Her eyes bulging, she lunged only to grab a piece of Dave's clothing as he fell overboard. Anguished screams pierced through the air. Dave, come back! The icy wind struck, waves crashing over one another, leaving Selena standing in shock. She stared at the sea below the yacht, feeling her blood freeze as cold seeped into her bones. Without thinking, Selena dove in. The salty sea quickly made it hard to breathe. Right before losing consciousness, one thought filled Selena's mind. Dave's still in the water. Woken by coughing fits, Selena opened her eyes, surrounded by a crowd. No Dave in sight. She shook her wet body, fury building. What's everyone standing around for? Go find Dave now. I'll give whoever brings him back $1 million cash. An uneasy silence spread as Selena scanned the still bodyguards and repeated herself, getting no volunteers. Desperate, she raised the reward from 1 to 10 million. Finally, someone spoke hesitantly. Selena, it's not that we don't want to help, but the storm's approaching. Going in now is suicide. Before he could finish, Selena threw her jacket at him, her face as dark as ever, seething. Fine, you cowards. I'll save him myself. Seeing Selena, ready to jump into the sea again, Mike panicked, holding her arm, pleading, Selena, let's go back, please. It's too dangerous now. We can search after the storm. John, for the first time, found Selena unreasonable, shrugging indifferently. Selena, you should listen to Mike. No use risking it for Dave. Besides, his legs are gone, he can't swim. By now, he's likely fish food. Selena's cold stare froze John, making him shut up awkwardly. Hours dragged by, the waves quieting, as faint light appeared in the east. A group of people went into the sea, searching a 10-nautical-mile radius near the cruise ship all day long, but found nothing. Selena pursed her chapped lips while her assistant updated her on the search results every 2 hours. Her patience was wearing thin, as she kept crushing the can in her hands over and over. The distant ocean waves were rolling and crashing furiously, almost as if mocking her helplessness. When she finally got home deflated, she looked around at the familiar surroundings, and Dave's every expression flashed in her mind. Staring blankly, she slumped on the couch, holding her head in her hands, rubbing her eyes repeatedly, filled with regret. The thought that Dave might still be in the icy waters terrified her. She kept assuring herself it couldn't be. Dave couldn't just die like that, no way. But deep down, she knew that if someone who couldn't swim and was disabled fell into the ocean, their chances of survival were close to none. As her thoughts jumbled, Selena's eyes fell on the divorce papers on the coffee table, her palms breaking out in a cold sweat. In a matter of seconds, Selena played through every possibility in her mind and finally landed on the last one. Dave found out about her scheming from years ago and tried to leave her desperately. But knowing Dave's stubborn and single-minded nature, if he'd really known, he'd definitely have confronted her instead of being so calm like he was before. She tried not to dwell on the strange behavior Dave had been showing lately, tearing the divorce agreement to shreds. She decided she needed to head back to the cruise ship personally. Just as she arrived, a team of rescue workers with their gear were getting ready to leave, avoiding Selena like the plague. From afar, the silhouette on the second level of the ship directing everyone was none other than Selena's mother. Selena jogged up to the second deck, fuming. Mom, what are you doing here causing trouble and sending people away? Dave is still in the sea. He'll die if we don't save him. Selena's mother glanced at her daughter, whose hair was a mess and clothes crumpled, and snorted. That cripple has been in the water a whole day and night. It'd be a joke if he's still alive. For him, Selena, do you need to wreck yourself like this? You know you love Mike. Now that thing isn't here. It's the perfect chance to get closer to Mike. Selena gritted her teeth, anger written all over her face. Mom, mind your own business. I know what I need to do. We can't withdraw people. I'm not allowing it. Leaving her words, she marched towards the mast. As she was putting on a life jacket, John tapped her on the shoulder. Selena, ever since last night, you've been so busy saving that cripple. Did you even look at Mike? Who's more important, Mike or that cripple? Don't you have a clue, Selena? The resentment and unwillingness in John's eyes strangely reminded Selena of a similar look in Dave's eyes, and her heart ached for a moment. I know, but I can't just stand by and watch him die, Selena said firmly, lowering her head to avoid John. But he tripped her, making her fall to the ground. Selena, you're still in denial. I think you're falling for that cripple. How could you do this to Mike? Clenching her jaw from the pain, Selena pushed John away and started to get on the lifeboat when Mike came over. Selena, don't be mad at John. He's just straightforward. We all know if Dave were still alive, wouldn't it be by now? Enough. Mike was taken aback by Selena's anger. Normally, she would have held him, but today, Mike's appearance bothered her. She didn't understand why everyone was so certain Dave was dead, thinking she was doing something pointless. She refused to believe it. As long as the person hadn't been found, there was still hope. From that day, Selena dropped everything and spent days at sea, searching with the rescue team for any sign of Dave. On the fourth day, the team finally found something. It was the windbreaker she couldn't grab in time. Hope turned to disappointment once more, and Selena felt worse. She could barely sleep these days. Every time she tried to close her eyes, the scene of Dave being pushed over kept playing in her mind. If only she could have acted a second sooner, she might have been able to save Dave, might have kept him from sinking into the sea. The guilt and regret filled Selena with unbearable pain and panic, leaving her heart heavy with sorrow and almost suffocating her. On the seventh day, the head of the rescue team approached Selena, explaining the rescue mission was no longer necessary. "Selena, I understand how you feel, but we all know your husband couldn't swim, and his legs weren't working. With waters this deep and rough, it's unlikely he survived." "I'm sorry." Selena staggered, unable to stand properly, wanting to speak but finding her throat too dry. She gripped the windbreaker tightly, running her fingers over the buttons as tears fell onto her hand, blurring her vision. As the crowd dispersed, Selena could no longer hold in her emotions, crying uncontrollably, pounding her fists against the deck until they were red and bloody. Finally, she stopped, a bitter smile on her lips. "Do you think Dave would blame me for not saving him, for causing this to him? Well, if his legs were okay, would he still be alive? But his legs were broken. He couldn't move anymore." The assistant sighed, watching Selena cry in pain, then suddenly snapped to attention. With a thud, Selena collapsed on the deck, unconscious. Selena had a long dream, where Dave survived but was with another woman. Jealous and livid, she wished the woman would disappear. Just at the critical moment of confrontation, she jolted awake. Opening her eyes, Selena struggled to sit up, finding her whole body weak with her throat parched. As she drank water, her secretary burst in, startled at first, then stammered, "Selena, thank goodness you're awake. Your mother, she arranged for your husband's funeral. It's today." The glass shattered on the ground, and Selena, in a panic, grabbed her assistant's tie, demanding to know the truth, paying no attention to the pain in her foot. "Of course, it's true. Ever since you fell into a coma just yesterday, Madam's been busy talking about the funeral for your husband." Despite being furious, Selena ignored the doctor's orders and checked herself out of the hospital, heading straight to the funeral. As soon as she got out of the car, 2 rows of huge wreaths stung Selena's eyes. Ignoring any protests, she shoved them over and stomped on them. She then instructed the bodyguards to rip down the white cloth from the hall and kicked the officiator out in front of everyone. People who recognized Selena went silent, watching silently as the woman entered the hall. Selena's mom saw her, shocked as she'd expected her to still be in the hospital. But before she could speak, Selena grabbed a mic at the front and announced, "Thanks for coming today, but please leave now. My husband's not dead, so there's no need for a funeral. Those hoping for his death can leave too. If you don't go now, don't blame me for what happens next." Her voice was firm and authoritative, filled with a commanding presence as she scanned the room. The hall erupted into whispers, all talking about how deeply Selena loved her husband, refusing to leave his side. Dave's mom, on the right side, nearly had a heart attack with anger, clutching her chest as a pale-faced John supported her. Mike hadn't expected Selena to say in public that Dave wasn't dead. Thinking about how cold Selena had been to him these past few days, Mike dug his nails into his palm, cursing Dave under his breath. As guests began to leave, the hall's sound system suddenly blasted out a loud noise. Seconds later, once it cleared, a recording started playing, leaving everyone speechless. Selena went pale, looking at a just as shocked John. She shouted to turn off the system, but it was too late. The recording was of Selena and John. Turns out Dave was in a wheelchair because of Selena. Everyone thought they knew her, but clearly didn't. Selena felt utterly ashamed, embarrassed beyond words, as her mom gave her frequent looks. Holding the mic, Selena's hand felt heavy as a rock, unable to move. Why was this recording out here? Only Dave was at the house then. Could he perhaps be alive? With this thought, Selena sprinted backstage, pushed past the staff, only to find a single USB drive. Distraught, Selena ran outside, eyes scanning the crowd, but never finding a trace of Dave. Falling to the ground, Selena looked at the USB in her hand. On the back was Dave's initials, gleaming there, darkening her mood. When her mom found her, Selena was staring blankly at the USB, driving her mom up the wall. "Selena, do you realize by running like that, people think you look guilty? What's going on?" Selena spoke wryly, feelings tangled up inside. "Mom, I've made my bed. I knew this day could come. Do you think Dave might not be dead? Maybe he knows everything and decided to punish me. He could be nearby." Selena's mom, seeing her daughter in such a crazed state, cried out, insisting the bodyguards take Selena to the car as she mumbled to herself. In the car, Selena's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages from nearly everyone tied to her and Dave flooded in, questioning her. "Selena, what happened? How could you do this? How could you betray Dave? I'm disgusted for Dave. To sleep next to someone so vile, you deserve the worst. Selena, acting like you're all in love, but you were stabbing him. Karma's watching. You'll regret this." Shutting her phone, Selena's heart ached. If Dave could come back, she'd welcome any punishment if it meant he was there. As soon as she stepped out, she felt the eyes on her, full of hate, shock, and anger. Closing the door, blocking out the world, she held Dave's photo close, sitting down with empty eyes. Tears fell uncontrollably, and she looked at that smiling, handsome face, the heartache unbearable. "Dave, I messed up. I really messed up. Please come back. I can't do this without you." Her plea dropped into silence, casting a solitary shadow in the dim light. As she groggily woke, a noise caught her attention. She looked up and locked eyes with Mike. He paused with Dave's picture in hand, nudging a bag of Dave's things with his foot. Selena glared, her face darkened with anger, causing Mike to flinch. "Selena, Mom told me to pack Dave's stuff. We need to move on." Before he could finish, she snatched the bag, shoving him aside, her voice fierce. "Who gave you the right to decide? Why are you throwing Dave's stuff out? Get out." Her voice was full of anger, venom that made Mike shiver, reluctantly leaving. After he left, John called, most likely to defend Mike. Anticipating this, Selena swiftly blocked both their numbers, tossing her phone and downing more alcohol. The booze didn't numb her pain. Instead, it made Dave's image clearer. Suddenly startled awake, she found her hands empty, reality crushing down on her. Dave only willing to exist in her dreams. From then on, she clung to alcohol, day and night blending together until she was drunk. Only then could she see Dave again. The night Dave fell into the water, Maria and her crew swiftly got him to the East Coast. After that, she went with Dave by boat to J Country, then transferred to a plane, and finally made it to F Country 3 days later. Ben stayed behind to keep an eye on Selena and her crew's activities and boldly released the audio of Selena and John. In the Consil laboratory in the town of Les Eaux in F Country, the assistant was recording Dave's information. 20 minutes later, Dave was taken to the spacious and grand office to meet Professor Consil. After a brief explanation, the professor examined Dave's legs, frowning deeply. "Dave, hello. Have you taken any medication for muscle atrophy before? These drugs have been in your system for a long time. You've come a bit late. To be honest, our experiment might not be much help for you." Dave turned pale, his whole body swaying, and Maria quickly supported him. "Please, we came from Z Country almost risking our lives, just for this bit of hope. Professor Consil, I believe you won't give up on any patient." The old man's face darkened, He sighed several times, and then asked for Dave's opinion. Dave's eyes were bright, his words firm and powerful, insisting on giving it a try. Professor Consil finally agreed, and from then on, Dave lived near the lab. Every day, hormones surged through Dave's legs, causing him excruciating pain, his face twisted in agony. In just 5 days, his legs were covered in a dense array of needle marks, bruised and bruising, quite frightening. Even during treatment, even with anesthesia, Dave could still feel the stinging electric current spreading throughout his body. Often in less than 20 minutes, he was drenched in sweat, and by the end of a 2-hour session, his clothes were soaking wet. Maria saw everything, watching as Dave grew thinner. Though it pained her, she respected Dave's decision. She specially sought out traditional mugwort, hoping to aid Dave's recovery on top of Professor Consil's treatment. 2 months passed, and Dave's legs gradually improved. One afternoon, they finally regained sensation. When Maria heard this good news, she was so excited that she skipped lunch and rushed to the training room to bring Dave nourishing hot soup. After that, Maria's moxibustion massage went from once a day to twice daily, while Dave's rehabilitation exercises intensified. Everyone awaited a miracle, especially Dave. Finally, after 3 phases of experimental treatment, Dave, supported by Maria and the lab staff, slowly stood up. Even though each step brought a stabbing pain in his knees, Dave gritted his teeth and persevered. After a few steps, Maria and the staff let go, and Dave stumbled but then walked a few more steps. Thunderous applause erupted, and Professor Consil sincerely exclaimed, "Dave, you are truly the most determined person I've ever seen. Hardly anyone endures through the neural regeneration experiment. But you did it." Dave's eyes glistened with tears as he met Maria's gaze, and she gave him a thumbs up. They exchanged smiles, and for a moment, Dave felt a long-lost sense of relief. From then on, he was no longer someone restricted by his mobility. He could go anywhere he desired. Freedom was just within reach. On the other side, Selena had been despondent for more than 2 months, almost shutting herself indoors. Rumors swirled outside, growing more ridiculous by the day. Some even thought Selena was hiding at home, afraid Dave would come seeking revenge. Selena's mother became even more distressed, recalling her attempts to persuade Selena, facing indifference in return. But Selena was determined to oppose her at every turn. If her mother said anything bad about the late Dave, she'd retort tenfold. Even Selena's mother's head began to ache, leaving her with no patience for Mike. Mike couldn't ignore the tension. He hadn't seen Selena during this period. With Selena's mother urging him more than once, Mike made a decision and softly shared his divorce plans with her. Selena's mother's sorrow was instantly replaced with joy, and she hugged Mike closely, already planning for grandchildren. That afternoon, Selena's mother had the door pried open and personally sent Mike into the villa. Empty beer bottles cluttered the living room sofa. The place reeked of decay, and Selena lay limp on the ground. Suppressing his disdain, Mike slowly sat beside Selena, wrapping his arms around her shoulders and exhaled softly. "Selena, you've been holed up here for days. You won't even see me." Selena didn't even glance at Mike, picking up a can and downing it in under 10 seconds. Feeling ignored, Mike's expression faltered before he employed his typical pity tactics. "Selena, I've been wanting to tell you. I divorced my arranged partner half a year ago. Now that Dave's gone, whenever you're ready, we can get married. We..." Before he could finish, Mike leaned in, aiming to kiss her chin, but Selena reacted quickly, pushing him away. Mike cried out in pain, staring at her vacant eyes, frustrated. "Selena, what's the matter with you? Dave's dead now. Whether you admit it or not, clearly we..." Selena smashed the bottle against the wall, causing Mike to scurry away. Depleted of energy, Selena looked through a shard of broken glass to see her unkempt reflection with messy hair. She forced a twisted smile and clutched her stomach, writhing in agony, finding relief only after taking painkillers. Hearing about Mike's divorce didn't bring her joy, as Dave's image filled her mind. She once envisioned marrying Mike countless times. Yet when the chance arose, she hesitated. Dave occupied her thoughts completely, leaving no space. She took a sip of beer and looked at the wedding photo, her lips curling upward. At that moment, she finally realized she had unknowingly fallen in love with Dave. Just too late to tell him. After realizing her true feelings, Selena called her mother, straight to the point. "I can't marry Mike, Mom. Dave is the only husband for me in this life." Selena's mom was furious, almost having a heart attack. Seeing the drastic change in Selena, her resentment towards Dave grew. Eager for grandchildren, Selena's mom decided to take a risk. She quickly called Mike and gave some instructions to the bodyguards. A trap for Selena was quietly set. That night, Selena got plastered again. As she reached for another bottle, her eyes landed on a wheelchair a few steps away. Her legs moved before she thought. She struggled to her feet, gazing at the familiar figure still wearing Dave's favorite light blue shirt. Overjoyed, Selena threw her arms around the man, holding tight, tears falling. "Dave, you finally come back. Are you still mad at me? It's all my fault, all my fault. Dave, I only love you, I was just too scared to admit it. Mike and I have been over for a long time now, you have to believe me." The man's body stiffened, but Selena, caught up in her own words, didn't notice. She kissed the side of the man's face and started unbuttoning his shirt. But the slight scent of men's cologne hit her, making her freeze. This wasn't Dave. Selena then grabbed the man's neck, her vision suddenly sharp. It was Mike's face. Furious, she kicked the wheelchair aside and dragged Mike, tossing him out. The guards by the door were shocked, exchanging glances before kneeling down to apologize. "Selena, we didn't want to. It was the madam's orders. She told us we had to let Mr. E in." Selena said nothing, her gaze boring into the groaning Mike, pinning him down by his shoulder. "You tell me, why are you pretending to be Dave? Why? Why?" Mike wanted to argue, but her shaking made him dizzy, and he passed out. Next thing he knew, he was tied up outside the Liu mansion. Selena's mom fainted at the sight of the tied-up Mike upon news reaching her. Selena angrily threw out everything Mike had ever given her and washed her hands repeatedly where he had touched. Watching the water flow, she suddenly recalled all the oddities from the past. After giving her assistant instructions, Selena lay heavily burdened, unable to sleep until the doorbell rang loudly. John stormed in, punching her at first sight, all his words defending Mike. "Selena, what madness are you spreading? Do you know what you've done to Mike? Everyone's laughing at him behind his back. So what if you've fallen for Dave? I asked you before and you denied it, and now what? He's dead." Thinking of the files her secretary had sent her minutes earlier, Selena's eyes turned cold, her retort unkind. "Compared to what you and Mike did to Dave, this is nothing. John, stop pretending." John's face turned guilty, repeatedly denying knowing what she was talking about. It wasn't until the photos and audio evidence were thrown in his face that he panicked. Seeing pictures of Dave beaten at the booths, John's eyes flickered. He hadn't thought of an excuse before Mike was brought in by bodyguards. Mike was terrified at the first sight of evidence. His eyes darted around, frequently seeking John's gaze. Under Selena's interrogation, Mike gritted his teeth, blaming everything on John. "Selena, you gotta believe me, I wouldn't hurt a fly, let alone Dave. It was all John using me. Go after the real culprit." John looked at Mike in disbelief, not able to comprehend his cherished brother blaming him. John glared at Mike, but he kept his head down, insisting John was the mastermind. Whipped repeatedly, John's back soon became a mess of wounds, the pain threatening his sanity. Watching Mike silent beside him, John's heart turned cold as ice, laughing bitterly. "Selena, don't think Mike is innocent. I'll tell you, he started all this. He even brought up how the booths need heirs for Dave to leave. Check the surveillance if you don't believe me." John's words were firm, scaring Mike, who dropped a glass, yelling for the guards to shut him up. Selena's face turned pitch black, her aura terrifying. She tossed Mike into a pool, ordering the guards to hold him down. Unless Mike confessed, The guards would dunk his head repeatedly underwater. After a few rounds, Mike confessed everything. He admitted to framing Dave for theft, making him kneel in the rain all night and plotting to embarrass Dave. Selena went from shocked to expressionless, her fists clenching tight. Instructing her secretary to entertain them, Selena personally headed to the hospital. Reviewing security footage, she discovered Mike dressed as a nurse to sneakily enter the room, almost unnoticed. The thought of the funeral triggered her memory, recalling every detail. Anxiously calling her assistant, Selena's face determined. "Quick, find all the staff from Mr. Booth's funeral, especially those in black uniforms with badges." Selena fixated on the video, her eyes locking onto a man repeatedly coming in and out 5 times. He's a bit shorter than Dave, built completely different. He went into the sound room backstage that last time and never came out. The camera footage was zoomed in repeatedly, displaying the man's face on the big screen. Selena nodded in satisfaction. Before half the day was over, the secretary had brought back all the man's details: name, age, identity, occupation, residence, everything. Selena's attention was caught by H City. If she remembered right, that was where Dave lived before the Booths found him. Squinting at Ben's information, Selena merged it with the kidnapper info she'd gathered before and noticed something fishy. There's a good chance they knew each other. Excited beyond belief, Selena knew it couldn't be a coincidence. Everything pointed towards one possibility. Dave was still alive. Following the clues, Selena quickly discovered he had bought a ticket to F Country 2 weeks ago. Over 3 months ago, which was the day Dave supposedly drowned, he had also bought 2 ship tickets and 2 plane tickets. Quickly packing her bags, Selena planned to go abroad, but her parents stopped her. "Selena, you're looking to find Dave, and that's fine. But don't forget to bring Mike and John back too." Selena didn't answer, just kept packing her clothes. Her parents, angered, resorted to threatening her inheritance. Her hands froze for a moment, clenching tightly, then she gave in. By the time Selena and her bodyguard tracked down Professor Kinsell's biolab, 2 days had already passed. She initiated a visit, speaking fluent French to describe Dave's features. They informed her that Dave had left 3 days ago. "Ma'am, Dave and Maria left 3 days ago. You're too late." Selena recalled that Ben had a sister named Maria. On the way back, Selena kept muttering Maria's name, her intuition screaming that her relationship with Dave was complicated. She pounded the wall in frustration, eyes darkened as her fingers started to bleed. Every time she got close to the truth, she was a step too late, always beaten by someone else. Her joy extinguished in an instant. She felt deflated and gave herself up to the bottle. For days, Selena stayed at a bar, a drink always in hand. Even with her striking looks, turning down every advance, hoping one of them would be Dave. But he never appeared. Stumbling out of the bar drunk, she wandered to its quieter backside, the hustle and bustle replaced by small clusters of people. Walking aimlessly, she turned a corner and saw a familiar silhouette. In a moment of clarity, Selena followed the figure for about 10 paces, stopping in front of a tall building. He halted, the crossing lights dancing around his silhouette, merging him perfectly with Dave, as if they were the same. Fighting back tears, Selena jogged to catch up, stopping about 5 meters away, when a stranger appeared. She threw an arm around his shoulder, chatting and laughing intimately. In that moment, Selena saw her face. It was Maria. Standing frozen, Selena's gaze fixed on the man's hand resting on Maria's shoulder. Without thinking, she pushed Maria aside. Selena beamed at the sight of the familiar face she'd yearned for, wrapping Dave in a tight embrace. "Dave, do you know how much I missed you these days? How could you leave me for so long?" The man stood still. Selena's joy dissipated as she faced his indifferent eyes. Sheer panic set in. "Miss, I don't know you. Please let go or I won't hesitate to call the police." His French was laced with a southern accent, his gaze cold and unfamiliar. Before she could process, Maria kicked Selena to the ground. "Drunkard, stay away from us." Months of frustration burst out of Selena, crumbling under the man's detached stare. She cried out her struggles. "Dave, don't you recognize me? I'm Selena, your wife. Do you know how long I've been searching for you? Come, Dave, come back with me, and I promise you'll be the head of the whites." The man chuckled dismissively. "If you're going to be crazy, find someone else." Still hopeful, Selena leaned in closer, but then noticed the absent mole behind his ear. She froze. Was he really not Dave? As she pondered, they vanished into the building, leaving Selena lost and bewildered on the curb. She stood at the door a long while, leaving only when urged by security, memorizing the address before she left. Back at the hotel, she replayed everything she'd encountered. Why did he look like Dave but lack the mole and have his legs intact? She recalled his habit, the way he knelt and looked her in the eye, his left hand subconsciously tapping 3 of his fingers. That was Dave's gesture. She'd never forget. Desperate, Selena leaped out of bed, threw on her coat, slipped on hotel slippers, and rushed back to the building. "Excuse me, I'm looking for an Asian couple who stayed here. Can you tell me where they are?" The front desk ignored her. Panicking, she offered all the euros she had. Satisfied, the clerk nodded. "They're gone." That one sentence shattered Selena. She tried prying for more, but they just shook their head. Dizzy and unsteady, she stumbled down the steps. Unaware, she missed a step and crashed to the ground, losing consciousness. When she woke up again, it was just her assistant by her side. She couldn't help but shout, "Go find him, to where I was found." Dave stayed there. It's Maria who influenced him to leave. "Hurry, go." Selena was so emotional. She yanked on her injured shoulder, crying out in pain. After anxiously waiting at the hospital all morning, the assistant came with some hot porridge, looking down, explaining, "Selena, we still can't find him. We've searched everywhere. People are suspicious and won't say much." The spoon in Selena's hand hit the table hard. She was breathing heavily, her shoulder bleeding, and she said weakly, "Offer money. 1,000 euros for information, and 100,000 if they help me find him." After that, many people came forward with information, some just trying to take advantage, causing chaos in the search. One afternoon, when Selena was irritated by all the mixed messages, the assistant brought good news. Someone saw Dave and Maria on a flight back to S-City and learned they planned to settle there. Selena looked at a photo of her and Dave, showing a smile she hadn't had in a while. "Dave, I'm coming for you." As soon as Selena got to S-City, she contacted the police, who quickly found Dave and Maria's address through the local registry. It was a quaint little villa in the suburbs, and the garden was covered in wisteria vines. The former owner mentioned Dave bought the place for the wisteria. Selena thought of the moonflowers in the White's backyard, blushed, and called her housekeeper. "Remove the moonflowers and plant wisteria instead. Make sure they're the best flowers and beautiful." After giving instructions, Selena checked herself in the mirror, satisfied. Taking advantage of Maria leaving around 8 a.m., Selena had a bodyguard press the doorbell. The door opened, and a visibly tense Dave stood in casual clothes. Selena couldn't hold back anymore, holding roses and kneeling. "Dave, I finally found you. Don't deny it, you're Dave. Your little habits can't fool me. Dave, come back with me. I'll spend my life making it up to you." Dave, expression unchanged, looked down at Selena and gave a cold smile, slapping her on the left side of her face. "Selena, why should I forgive you? Forgive you for paralyzing my legs? Forgive what you did during those 7 days? Forgive every false accusation? Or forgive you for not saving me?" Every word felt like a stab to Selena's heart, making her bow her head even lower, sobbing. "Dave, I was wrong. Do whatever you need to punish me, but please, forgive me, will you?" Dave sneered, pointing to the pebble pathway outside, speaking indifferently. "If you're sincere in your atonement, kneel and kowtow there. Don't you remember forcing me to do the same? Now it's your turn." The cold ground touched her forehead repeatedly, the pebbles painfully digging into her knees. Yet Selena kept bowing, each time whispering, "I'm sorry." An hour passed, then two, the whole morning. Her forehead was bleeding heavily, and her voice was hoarse, yet Dave didn't stop. The assistant, unable to watch any longer, begged Dave, telling of their difficult journey to find him. Dave stirred his coffee, took a sip, and finally called out, "Stop it." Selena was overjoyed, and her assistant hurried to help her up, but Dave splashed most of his coffee on her. "I've seen enough, Selena. Go back. I'll call you if I ever need to see someone kneel again." Selena, eyes darkened, anxiously tugged at his pant leg, falling to her knees, crying, "Dave, what do I need to do for you to forgive me? Are you happy to see me like this, Dave?" Of course, seeing the once arrogant Selena so miserable is even better than TV. "There's plenty that makes me happy, and seeing you suffer is one of them." Dave flicked Selena's bloody fingers away, gave her a disgusted look, and shut the door. Selena beat on the door powerlessly, screaming Dave's name, but he ignored her. When Maria returned home from work, holding carefully chosen brownies, her good mood disappeared seeing Selena. She tried to drive Selena away, but Selena insisted she would wait for Dave. Maria, initially ignoring her, couldn't when Selena tried to slip into the house as she entered. The pent-up anger burst, and Maria punched Selena, knocking her down. Growing up in the slums, Maria learned to fight and even took up martial arts later. Selena's two bodyguards were weak and not her match. After a couple of rounds, Maria easily took Selena down again and issued a final warning: "If you keep bothering Dave, I'll deal with you every time. Next time it'll be an arm, then a leg. Get out and keep our front yard clean." With the help of her bodyguards, Selena got up and looked through the window, seeing Dave and Maria having a cozy lunch. Her nose tingled. Once, she and Dave were that close, but now it's all gone. Dave really won't forgive her. By the time she returned to G-City, it was already evening, and as soon as she entered the villa, the aroma of something delicious filled the air. Walking into the dining room, Selena saw Mike and the nanny busy in the kitchen. Mike's face lit up when he saw her. "Selena, you're finally back. Must have been tiring in Country F, right? Go rest. Look, I made a whole seafood feast." Seeing the familiar sweet shrimp, Selena's mind immediately recalled Dave's seafood allergy. That day, she had given him a box of seafood porridge that Mike barely touched. The guilt was overwhelming. Remembering his harshness earlier, she barely had the strength to speak. How could she have been so reckless? She knew about Dave's allergy. Mike waved his hand in front of her, offering a bowl of seafood porridge with pride. "Selena, I simmered this for over 3 hours with sea cucumber and dried scallops. Try it." 3 hours earlier, Selena had just boarded a plane. Yet somehow Mike knew she was coming back. Thinking it over, Selena looked sharply at her assistant, who nervously confessed, "Selena, it was the madam. She said if we don't regularly update her on your whereabouts, we'd all be fired." "I'm sorry." Selena didn't say a word, feeling utterly ridiculous. In front of Mike, she had the bodyguards bring the caged Tibetan Mastiff. Watching it devour the whole table of food, even licking the plates clean, Mike was furious. "Selena, it was just a beast, and you haven't even eaten. There's more porridge in the kitchen, so how about—" Before he finished, Selena released the Mastiff, which knocked Mike to the ground, leaving scratch marks on his face. Mike scrambled away, and as Selena watched with a cut on her lip, tears silently fell. In the booth's living room, Dave's mother was tending to Mike's wounds, who was in pain. "Mike, weren't you cooking for Selena? How did you get hurt this bad?" Mike shook his head, his face twisted with malice. Across the couch, John clenched his newspaper tightly. Late at night, Mike looked over the private investigator's results and crushed the flowers on his balcony. Dave sure was lucky. Even when he almost drowned, he came back with healed legs. Picked up the phone, he made a call. "Interested in a job? $5 million when it's done. I want Dave gone." In the moonlight, Mike's figure appeared more menacing. Around the corner, John leaned against the wall, terrified. Back in bed, he couldn't sleep, thinking of past memories. When they were kids, Dave was always with him, with their parents often busy. They were close until Dave got lost because of John's carelessness, and John's parents constantly blamed him afterward. Soon enough, Mike arrived at the booths and became a recipient of John's guilt. When Dave was found, John was happy and scared, afraid that Dave would blame him for everything and sabotage him. Because of those feelings, John remained cold, ignoring Dave's attempts to make peace. Mike's complaints only made things worse for John. The memory of Dave nearly drowning haunted him. He thought of helping, but Mike urged him to do nothing. John knew Dave saw him as a coward who only protected Mike. Tears streamed down John's face as he stared at his contacts. He called, "We need to meet. It's about your safety." In the S-City Cafe, John looked at the well-dressed Dave with a sense of disbelief. Dave entered wearing custom shoes, nothing like the timid boy from before. "Congrats on your recovery, Dave," John awkwardly said. Dave frowned and asked about the issue. "Last night, I overheard Mike and his connections plotting to kidnap you. Be careful." Dave nodded, while John remained seated uncomfortably. Dave was about to leave, but John stopped him. "I'm sorry, Dave. After Selena confronted us, I realized Mike had been setting you up. I know I can't ask for forgiveness, but I wanted you to know I'm sorry." Bowing deeply before looking up with teary eyes, John spoke. Dave sat back down, gazing out at the doves flying by. "Do you think an apology fixes everything? Can it erase the hardships from when you left me to buy candy 15 years ago? Does it wash away the humiliation I faced when I returned to the booths?" John went pale, lowered his head, and in a small voice admitted his fault. "I'm wrong. I'm not deserving." "You're right. You're not. Don't think I don't know these apologies are just for your conscience." Dave responded, standing up. "I don't need cheap, useless apologies from you or Selena." As Dave walked away, John hesitated to follow. What would be the point, only to be pushed away again? Standing still, he realized he and Dave had grown apart long ago. Dave was moving towards a brighter future, gaining confidence. But John and the others remained stuck, foolishly hoping to repair things. He finally texted Selena, a simple message asking her to leave Dave alone. She never replied, and the message vanished into silence. Selena was all set to confess her feelings in a carefully planned ceremony. When she saw the message, she was a bit shocked but quickly brushed it off. She didn't believe what John said was true, nor was she ready to give up. Once everything was planned, Selena arranged to meet Dave in City G through one of their mutual friends. As soon as Dave arrived, he was greeted by a stunning sea of wisteria flowers, with photos of him and Selena from the past laid out on the lawn. In the middle of the crowd, Selena stood there wearing the suit from their wedding, with the watch Dave had given her, looking sincere. With a microphone in hand, she walked towards Dave, pouring her heart out about the past few months. Finally, she choked up and said, "Dave, I was wrong. Please give me another chance. This time I'll love you twice as much." Dave looked at the woman who had proclaimed her love countless times yet hurt him repeatedly, and laughed, wishful thinking. Everyone was taken aback, and Selena felt embarrassed but continued her confession. "So what if it's wishful thinking? Dave, you're still my husband. I didn't sign those divorce papers." Dave maintained his composure and slowly looked behind him. "Who said you didn't sign? Take a good look." It was Ben and Maria. All eyes turned to the divorce papers in Ben's hand, with Selena's signature glaringly obvious at the bottom right. Panicked, Selena stood up to snatch the papers, but Maria grabbed her wrist tightly, causing her to cry out in pain. "Dave, let me explain. I was forced. You have to believe me. If you come back to me, we can get remarried right away. We people like us always have so many things beyond our control. Dave, you should understand me." Someone in the crowd wanted to speak up for Selena, but Maria's glare kept them silent. She took out a document renouncing inheritance from her bag, tossing it in Selena's face, and mocked, "Selena, you can fool yourself, but not us. This renounce statement clearly says if you remarry Dave, you fear you won't be the president anymore. Maria was confident while Ben spat at her, and Selena gritted her teeth and admitted, "Dave, you know I can't handle not being the heiress." Dave didn't want to hear it anymore. He glanced at Maria, who understood, and dragged Selena out. As the crowd disbanded, Dave picked a wisteria bloom swaying in the wind and sighed. What a shame they were ruined by Selena. At the entrance, no matter how much Selena yelled, Maria stood guard. As a woman herself, she could see through Maria's intentions and got even more upset, warning her to stay away from Dave. "What gives you the right to stop me from going after Dave? You're just his ex-wife, a nobody with no ambition." Finding it hard to breathe, Selena clenched her fist as she remembered the last time she was beaten, and her body froze. On the way back, Dave's indifferent face kept replaying in Selena's mind, while Maria's provocatively smiling face appeared. Frustrated, Selena hit the steering wheel twice. Lost in her thoughts, she didn't realize she'd sped up to 120 miles per hour, crashing into a turning truck at an intersection. The windshield shattered instantly, and a vision of Dave flashed through Selena's mind. "I can't die," she thought. She used every ounce of strength to crawl out of the overturned car, touched the blood on her forehead, and finally fainted. Meanwhile, Dave was getting ready to fly back to City S when he got a call from Selena's assistant. "Dave, no, Selena, she had a car accident." Ben paused mid-thought about dinner plans, watching Dave's calm face as he exchanged a look with Maria. "Dave, do we still—" "No need, head back as planned," Dave replied. "Selena's state means nothing to me." After dinner, Dave was distracted while working in his study. Maria knocked on the door, bringing him warm water and muscle relief pills, reminding him to take his medicine. He thanked her, not noticing the dosage was half of what it usually was. "Dave, didn't you notice something different about your medicine today?" Maria's reminder snapped Dave back to reality, feeling he'd been a bit off, and he took the other half of the pills. Maria sighed from the doorway, breaking the silence. "Dave, I know you can't stop worrying about Selena, and I understand it's not about whether you love her. If you want to go, I'll go with you." Dave didn't respond verbally but touched the empty space around his neck before softly saying, "Okay." By the time they reached City G Hospital, it was early the next morning. Shortly after arriving in the hospital room, Selena slowly came to, scanning the room until her eyes landed on Dave. "Dave, you're here. Why so far away? Didn't we just get married yesterday? I almost didn't make it to see you. Who's that with you?" Upon examination, the doctor could only conclude Selena had amnesia. Since then, Selena clung to Dave almost all the time, needing him even to help her dress sometimes. Mike became completely ignored, and Selena's mother didn't even bother pretending to be nice to her. "Can't believe you actually made it back in one piece. So your leg's fine, huh?" Selena's really lost her mind. "Talking to me doesn't change anything." Dave responded calmly, "I can leave anytime. But what about Selena? That's your real concern." Selena's mother was silenced by his words, glaring at him, leaving Mike and Selena's mother alone in the hospital room. No patience left, Selena's mother addressed the unwanted son-in-law, recalling Mike's portrayal. "Now that you're back, you should know the position of the white son-in-law belongs to Mike. Sure, Mike was married once, but Selena only loves him. You should be wise." Maria couldn't stand it anymore and spoke up for Dave. "Auntie, you really need to stop playing favorites so blatantly. You're more worried about who your son-in-law will be than you are about how Dave's leg healed. Be careful or you might end up with nothing." John was about to say something, but Selena's mom was escorted out by him, leaving just Mike, who dropped any pretenses. "You just won't go away, Dave. Let's see how long you can stay this smug." These back-to-back insults made Maria a bit worried. But Dave smiled at her, showing he was fine. He's heard worse. And any last hope he had for these so-called relatives vanished. He made up his mind. Back in the hospital room, Selena was munching an apple. She saw him and offered him another one she'd washed. Dave didn't take it. Selena teared up, trying to peel the apple herself, but ended up cutting her hand. Dave had no choice but to get some gauze from a nurse and wrap up her wound. Even with the messiest bandage job, Selena blushed and said it looked nice. Dave's expression twitched at this, and he began to probe Selena with some questions. She answered them all pretty well, if you ignored her habit of touching her nose. Dave knew if Selena was lying, she'd always nervously touch her nose. Watching her happily biting into that apple, he masked his cold feelings and acted like he didn't notice a thing. If Selena was going to pretend, he'd play along. After this, Dave patiently stayed by Selena's side, taking care of her considerately. This made Selena think Dave was about to forgive her, making her even happier. One day, as Dave was peeling an orange for Selena, his assistant brought in the latest quarterly earnings report for W Group. After she put it down, Selena started reading. Dave sneaked a glance and noticed the booth's name. Casually, he asked, next quarter, are you still planning on using the booths for raw materials? Selena paused with her pen and grasped Dave's hands, placing an orange slice in her mouth, sweet-talking him. Dave, are you upset? Tell me, which supplier do you want W Group to work with? I'll make it happen. Their eyes met, and Dave leaned close to whisper a name in her ear. Selena frowned. Dave, Q-Tech has always been W Group's competitor's main supplier. Isn't this a bit risky? Dave didn't reply, just turned to leave, but Selena clung to him tightly, softly agreeing to it. Meanwhile, John received a call from the raw materials department, surprised to hear W Group planned on switching suppliers next quarter. Calling Selena, Dave picked up instead. Selena openly declared, Dave's words are my opinion. Whatever Dave decides, that's what we'll do. John had no other choice but to inform Dave's mom, who was livid, wanting to confront Dave. Mom, why bother? In the end, we owe Dave. It's only natural he wants revenge. We've depended on the Whites for our living, and now they've signed a contract with Q-Tech. We can't change that. Dave's mom felt the sky falling, hitting John and calling him ungrateful. Then she had a stroke. Dave found out from John, who wanted him to visit his mom, but Dave sidestepped the topic. Did she come to see me when I was rescued from being kidnapped, all battered and bruised? John froze, recalling Dave's state when found, barely dressed, legs bleeding. Back then, the booths hired help to take care of him. John visited once, but his mom wouldn't go despite his pleas. John, you keep speaking well of him. He's embarrassed me completely. If not for appearances, I'd have left him to fend for himself in that hospital. John continued talking, but the call was cut after a couple of beeps. Slumping against the wall, he remembered his earlier call to Mike. He'd found every excuse not to come. Then his bank record showed a withdrawal of 20 grand, right on his bill. Whatever, they brought it upon themselves. Who could they blame? Dave had no intentions of relenting. He planned to use Selena, squeeze out every bit of her worth. A few nights later, while wiping Selena down, he unintentionally showed an old scar on his shoulder. A nasty reminder. Selena dropped her laptop and asked about it. He spoke of the time Mike framed him for theft, adding on the injustices faced from the booths. Watching him, she wept. Selena, didn't you promise to make it up to me? Why are the ones who wronged me still okay? Did you break your promise? Or never plan to help me at all? If it's like this, there's no need for me to forgive you. You weren't ever going to stand up for me. Dave gave her a light slap, then slowed his steps. Behind him, Selena hurried after him. It's not like that, Dave. I truly want to make it right. You tell me how to handle him. I only love you. Worried Dave didn't trust her. Selena carried him back to the room, kissed his forehead, and gently embraced him. Dave bit back his discomfort, watching the sky brighten, looking unconcerned. Mike, still half asleep, was knocked out and taken away in a sack, while John was brought personally by bodyguards to Selena's basement. When the light hit, Mike opened his eyes to see the couple in charge, while Selena swirled a wine glass, holding Dave close. Mike started pleading but was restrained and silenced with a cloth. John stayed composed, sensing their visit was about settling scores, and resigned himself to nodding. This was his debt to Dave. For 2 whole days, John was whipped, soaked in water overnight, and then had to kneel while being cut with a knife. A red-hot iron branded his left shoulder, leaving raw and bloody flesh, which reminded John of the burn scar on Dave. Back when Mike's favorite diamond cufflink went missing, it was found in Dave's room. Mike forced Dave to kneel and apologize. Dave refused to admit it. In his anger, Mike punished him with kitchen charcoal to calm himself down. 4 years later, Dave's own methods were used against him. Karma works in strange ways. Mike wasn't any better off than John. He was almost tortured to death, with no unscathed spot on his body. But Dave was still unsatisfied. He turned to the woman he deeply loved. "Selena, do you remember everything from those 7 days?" She paused, her hand swirling a wine glass, quickly replying that she didn't remember. Dave simply shook his head. "I'll never forget. So hand Mike over to me. Isn't there an empty room over there?" Mike, lying there like a dead fish, scrambled up to Selena's feet, begging. "Selena, you can't give me to him, can you?" Dave swiftly slapped him twice, then locked eyes with Selena, refusing to back down. Selena motioned to the bodyguards, who dragged Mike away at Dave's request. Relentlessly, Dave turned towards the small room. Selena felt a pang of anxiety, thinking he might have realized she hadn't lost her memory. But she brushed off the doubts, comforted by their close days together. For 7 days and nights, Dave only left the small room a few times. Apart from him, no one knew what occurred inside. When Mike was finally hauled out, he was out of his mind, with festering wounds all over and his right hand completely broken. He shivered, rejecting any contact, occasionally muttering gibberish. "Send him to jail and let John go." In the Whites' living room, Selena was serving Dave, urging him to eat more. Dave nodded, then casually asked, "Why no seafood porridge today?" Selena replied, "Dave, did you forget the last time I bought seafood porridge?" Mid-sentence, Selena realized something was wrong and snapped her gaze to Dave. He had already placed his chopsticks down, his eyes as cold as ice. Selena's face dropped as she realized she had slipped up. For a few seconds, she pondered how to explain, but Dave just waved it off, laughing. "No need to come up with excuses, Selena. Is there any point in pretending? I don't want to keep this act up. It's exhausting." Turning away, Selena hurried to hug Dave, her voice pitiful, apologizing repeatedly. Looking at the beautiful woman in front of him, tears shimmering, Dave gently wiped her tears with a handkerchief. "Tears, the best weapon, Selena. Are you sure you want to act pitiful for sympathy?" They stood close enough that Dave could smell her scent. Her throat moved as she whispered, "Dave, we're done. As for breaking my leg, your revenge is coming soon." When the door closed, Dave breathed a sigh of relief, seeing Maria by the car a few steps away, feeling at ease. "Dave, it's all planned." They agreed. "When do you think is right?" Thinking it over, next Wednesday should be Mrs. White's birthday. "Let's do it then." In 5 days, Dave and Maria gathered all their evidence and handed it to Ben, telling him to release it that day. Meanwhile, Selena tried to reach Dave several times, but he avoided her. Tuesday night, Dave watched from upstairs as Selena's car drove off. He marked the day off on his calendar. Maria, delivering milk, tousled Dave's hair, reminding him to rest early. He looked at the scars on his arm, thigh, and abdomen in the moonlight and drank the milk. "Selena, this is what you deserve." The next day was Selena's mother's birthday. Media all over G-City was buzzing with news, attracting all the city's elite to the party. During the celebration, Selena exuded confidence and a warm smile. But when it came time to cut the cake, the outdoor screen displayed evidence of W Group's financial troubles and embezzlement. Everyone gasped. Simultaneously, police sirens wailed as well-trained officers arrested 3 people, canceling the party. When Selena was released that night, she was still in shock. Her first thought was of Dave. Finding him in a bridal shop with Maria, who was trying on wedding dresses, his smile seemed particularly piercing. "Dave, I came to ask if what happened today was your doing." Her voice grew softer, as deep down, she already knew the answer. Dave stepped into the fitting room, changing out of the wedding dress, and nodded calmly. Anger and frustration flashed across Selena's face, eventually settling into calmness, leading to a single word: why? Because I won't let the whites get away easily. Is what you owe me far from complete. When I break your legs myself just like before, we're done. Emotions flooded her. Memories of Dave over the years, with highs and lows, filled Selena's mind. As the stick struck her legs, a surge of fear overcame her. She bit her lip but didn't make a sound. After numerous strikes, she only heard Dave's curt, "Leave." After being untied, she moved her wrists. With the blindfold removed, the last thing she saw was Dave walking away. As the door opened, she saw her mother, eyes swollen, staring at her. Faced with her own sins, she found herself with no defense. A week later, the whites sold off all their assets, paid their public debts, and completely exited the elite circles of G-City. Meanwhile, in a downtown hotel in S-City, a grand wedding was taking place. Dave, in a white suit, walked slowly toward the woman at the center of the stage, his vision blurring for a moment. From knowing each other as kids to being together in France, and finally achieving revenge, she was always by his side. The first time he married Selena, he was in a wheelchair, facing everyone's scorn as her groom. This time, with everyone's blessings, he married Maria, who loved him dearly. When they exchanged rings, Dave saw the tears glistening in Maria's eyes and remembered a childhood story. Back then, he escaped from traffickers and almost got hit by a car in H-City, but Maria and Ben pushed him to safety. However, that incident left Maria with a permanent disability in her left leg. She walked with a slight limp, but it was hardly noticeable. As a little girl with tears in her eyes, she comforted him not to cry. Dave leaned in to kiss Maria's lips as friends cheered, tossing the bouquet to Ben. Watching the video Ben sent, Selena's eyes welled up again, fixating on the message. "Selena, you should know your way out of your league compared to my sister. If Dave hadn't decided to let it go, you'd probably be eating prison meals for life." John knocked on the door, seeing Selena hurriedly put away her phone. He asked what her plans were. She smiled bitterly, looking at the wheelchair. "What can I do now?" John patted her shoulder and handed her a letter from Mike. "I'm thinking of leaving with Mom. BS Group was tied to the whites, and now it won't last long. Might as well sell it and move on with the money. I visited him in jail yesterday. He's not doing well but insisted I give this to you. Whether you read it is up to you." Selena tore up the letter in front of John and hesitantly asked, "Do you blame me for everything I did back then?" John immediately understood, nodded, and then shook his head. "This was all my mistake. It's only right to pay for it. However, debts can't be fully repaid. Instead of letting us off the hook, it's more like he wants us to live with guilt." Selena held the cold watch in her hand, causing her fingers to tremble slightly. She messaged Dave, asking to see him one more time, offering the watch as an exchange. Dave agreed. On the day they met, Selena got up early, specifically tying on Dave's favorite purple scarf. She hadn't expected Maria to be there too. Seeing them holding hands, Selena's eyes dimmed a little. After greeting them, Selena handed the watch to Dave, who turned around and put it on Maria. They didn't speak a word, communicating through glances with perfect understanding. As they got up to leave, Selena couldn't hold back and turned her wheelchair, calling out to Dave, "If there's a chance, when will we meet again?" He paused and said, "No need." Selena's hands dropped, her throat tightened, and her eyes stung. Faint conversation came through with laughter in the words, "Dave, you've been busy with the rehab hospital, you must be exhausted. I'll cook your favorite ribs when we get home. Be sure to eat a lot. Sure, just make extra. Ben secretly complains you never make enough. I think it's just his greed. He eats his share and still wants yours." Selena stayed where she was, the shadow from her wheelchair enveloping her, while the couple walked hand in hand, shining brightly in the sunlight. She realized they were like parallel lines, never to cross again. This time, her Dave chose right, and to his punishment for her, she willingly accepted it.